And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to night 3 of the Disc Jockey News Virtual Expo. I'm John Young, and I've got with me tonight Michael Joseph. Good evening, Michael.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, doing well, doing well. Thanks for joining me tonight.
I'm very happy to be here because we're going to talk about some really cool stuff tonight.
It is our gear night of all the nights of the show. This is probably going to be one of my favorites. Not that the others weren't good, but deep down.
I have to say, though, that January between the Consumer Electronics Show and NAMM, I just go into new gear overload. There's so much equipment that came out in the month of January, it's not even funny. I mean, there had to have been 40, 50 pairs of brand new headphones that were released in January, minimum.
Oh, and they're the design and the shape. And I mean, headphones, you think, okay, headphones are headphones. But there's just so much technology that came out in the headphone world. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, like everybody that puts out a set of headphones now, they tag the word DJ style on it, and all of a sudden it's, it's high level, but I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But a lot of equipment between CES, and NAMM, it just was ridiculous. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, what was it? Was ADJ put out 18 different products, and Chauvet put out like 16.
Yeah, yep, something like that.
Like brand new right off the bat, that many new products from just those two companies alone. And Denon, which I'm going to talk a little bit about, them and who was the other one? I can't remember who it is, put out something. It had to have been every part of a DJ's needs, from something to play the music on, sound to come out of it, lights, headphones. They put out new from all of them.
Yeah,
all of those areas from the same company.
Yeah. I think
so that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, one was Newmark for sure, because they came out with a lot of different things this year, and it was just interesting as you're walking around and seeing, because you see some trends as you're going around these exhibit halls, and that you're seeing a lot of the same things. And as we were just having this conversation a couple of minutes ago, Michael was saying, I didn't realize how many controllers I picked to talk about tonight.
It was an odd thing that I'm like going through my list and going, okay, these are the ones I pick, and I go through it and I'm like, they're all controllers. But there was so much good of everything out there. Like I said, headphones alone, maybe if I was in the market for shopping for new headphones, then maybe I would have a few headphones on the list. But there was just, a lot of headphones out there.
And Michael, speaking of headphones, some guys are wondering, are you wearing your earbuds? So you'll need to turn and show them. Yes, there they are.
Yeah, these. I have a full set of just in-ear monitors that are wireless and everything. So I can take it to a whole lot of levels with what I do. So I can recommend better ones than these. These were in my price range only, and the ones you have the Pioneers. Which I want to get a set of that go both over ear and down. So you have a choice with them, and I really like them.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, actually, the ones I'm wearing right now are from Me Electronics, and I got to look at their line. And they have, at NAMM, they had their full line there. So they have the $15 ones, then they have the $30 to $50 ones, but they get into some $400 to $700 versions that were just incredible. The Pioneer were $150. As I'm comparing, these don't have the fidelity that the Pioneer do. But they're black, and the Pioneer ones are still packed up in my suitcase that I travel with.
Oh, wow.
Those are my for on the airplane ones, where I can put those in, and if I'm watching a movie, I don't have to crank the volume because it cuts down the ambient noise. And if the person sitting next to me, isn't a friend or family, I can put them in, and it drowns them out.
Right. Yeah, there's, like I said, that's a whole new genre to the gear right now, is the in-ear monitors. And I go back and forth. I have a set of Denons that I'm really upset because they discontinued them, in-ear monitors for DJing. They were specifically made for DJing, and I liked them because they had larger drivers and they had dual drivers, so you had more bass in them than most of the headphones I've ever owned in my life.
Yeah.
But they've recently discontinued them. So now I'm on the search for them, because like if I'm in a DJ in kind of like a dressier place, instead of running around with the headphones on, I just pop the ear things in and I look like this when I'm DJing, and turn the volume down. I can talk to somebody, but that's a whole new part of the industry right now, is the in-ear monitors, and it's a tough thing unless you've used them. It's a tough thing to get used to.
It really is. And the adjustments for just to get them to fit properly is been huge, and I didn't think it would be that difficult because I've used earplugs for some custom made ones. I've had those, and I've used different earplugs for working outside and such. So I've not a big deal, but goodness, once you're trying to listen to something instead of just blocking it out. Oh, I think they're as a matter of fact, I think I have the case here. Most of these come with a little bag that has, what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different.
Yeah.
And some are meant for doing sound blocking, and some are meant just to be tight on the ears. Yep. There's a foam one in there. I haven't even tried it.
The ones that I'm running here are Shores, and the other ones, like I said, are the Denons. And these ones did not come form fitted, but I got a custom fit for them. So as you can see, they are molded.
Oh, nice!
And it's just a custom add-on afterwards. You can do that, or some of the high-end ones that they come out with. They send you the stuff. You mold your ear, send that mold back to them, and then they put your new headphones in that mold. So it's form fitted. There's a whole process. I watched them do it in Nashville a couple years ago, and they were just taking people who were buying them right there, squirting the stuff in their ear, marking it down, and then a couple weeks later they get the new headphones custom fit to them. Right there. So there's so many levels to it.
And a custom fit, I actually went through and had a pair made, and those were certainly my favorite because I did until I got to the V-Moda, the earplugs that they make. Which if you haven't seen those, check them out. You can go to Amazon wherever they have them, but they're a noise dampening. They're not an earplug, but I love those.
Phil, yeah, I did an article on them. Yeah, they more or less make it sound like you've turned the volume down, not like muffle it.
I don't think I've got a pair here on my desk, but the custom ones were great. I love those. I wore those to every show after I finally was smart enough to get them made. And then one of the times when I came home after a show, I left them on the table. One of them got knocked down, and, well, earplugs and dogs.
When I was growing up, I had a brother who had a German Shepherd that for some reason it needed to chew on everything all the time. So I understand.
Yeah, so whoops. Oh, it's good stuff. Well, tonight, for those of you watching, thank you for coming and watching and joining us one more time. We're going to be talking NAMM. We've already started to talk a little bit, but we've picked some, I think we've got 10, 12 different items we're going to kind of talk about a little bit tonight. Michael's picked some from what he's observed from the NAMM show, and then I picked a few, got a couple of videos that I shot at NAMM and such. And we're just going to kind of go through and talk, and if there's questions about some of the gear and such that we're talking about, or if something that that you've heard of that maybe we saw or we know of, pop out to the YouTube page. If you're on the DJ and Virtual Expo page, if you go and kind of hover over that player, in the corner you'll see Watch on YouTube, and you need to click that to get to the chat. You have to come back to the Virtual Expo page to watch the second show, which is Ben Stowe and I at NAMM, showing off our top, goodness, 10, 12 things from NAMM. But to go into the chat, where we've got quite a few already talking and such, you've got to go to the YouTube page to get to that. So, Michael, are we ready?
I'm ready when you are, sir.
Let's jump into your first one here. I'm going to make sure I've got that. And this one actually, I got to admit now, I'm going to pop the window over here. So now it is right between us.
Okay. So I should move.
Yeah, you're good. You're good right there. You can just,
which direction?
You stay right where you are. And
I can do split screen on my own if you need.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good. So the first one we've got is the Denon. What is it? The 4000, the MC 4000.
MC 4000, which is their newest. And there's several reasons why I'm picking the ones I'm picking. I'm not just picking them because I like this unit. There are trends in the industry that are going on, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm picking each one for. And there's more than just, hey, I liked it. There's reasons. This one, now that In Music, I don't know if anybody has read the industry, that In Music owns a lot of the big names right now. So they're all kind of under the same parent group. Denon's there, Newmark, Akai, M Audio, a bunch of them. And you're starting to see cross-platforming on some of the things. Like when you saw the new Newmark NS7, it has the Akai pads on it. So you're seeing that cross, and that was one of the things with the new 4000. If you see the platters, they're not the traditional Denon platters. They are the Newmark platters. Because the Denon ones always had that little curve, their little half Nike thing, whatever it was, kind of went like that. And this one of the things with this is that it's doing that cross-platform right now. And they've done a couple other little changes here that I really liked with it. Besides the platters, as you see that they put the Akai-esque. I don't know if they're Akai brand, because the difference between the company Akai making something, the company of Akai putting their name on, an MPC pad or whatever. But they have the new color backlit pads on that, which is the first one of them that does. So it's a nice little add, and they're very, very touch sensitive, and I love the way Denon sets a lot of their stuff up. So it's very kind of like that. And the other thing they did with the buttons is they moved them to the bottom and split them. And what I mean by that is before there's a shift button on there to where you would have your cue points, and the shift button would then give you hot samples. Now they've split them to where you have cue points down here in loops, and samples are on their own, so you can be doing them separate without having to hit the shift button to do that. And that's kind of something new, you know. And also by moving them down to the bottom, people who like to scratch have to reach over that, so that's maybe not a good thing, but people who don't scratch on them brings those buttons so you don't have to reach across the platter and bump them while you're mixing.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's good or bad either way that way. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of them. Again, I'm picking all these for the industry stuff, is that moving them down seems to be the norm right now, because there's the 6000 by Denon and a couple other ones with the very few that kept them above the platter and platter closest. And the Control 2 was the first one that moved them, you know, a couple years ago. So that's kind of part of the trend of the thing there, is that they're moving them, and I kind of, you know, see that being something that's going on there. They did move the split cue, which I probably am one of the only few DJs in the entire world that use split cue. And split cue means that one ear is listening to what's playing out front, and the other ear is listening to what you're cueing, as the same way that someone would, you know, put a headphone up to one ear and then not have a headphone on this ear. But I do it with two on both sides and split. They move the cue button down front to where it's not really a cue, it's this little itty-bitty tiny switch, and it's a pain in the butt to move back and forth. Good, bad, and different. It doesn't really matter whatsoever. You know, it's what you like. But speaking of the connections, we can go to the next picture, and it's the back. And now here's what I think is really cool about these units, and I'm seeing a lot of them doing it now. It's finally took forever for controllers to really jump into that, is getting good balanced XLR outs on it. And that's what this one is. You have a choice of balanced XLR outs or quarter-inch outs unbalanced. So you have two choices depending on where you're plugging into or whatever. Like I said, for me, I do both private and clubs. I do a lot of clubs, and when we come in the clubs, it's going to be the RCA. But the private gigs, different things like that, where I'm hooking up to the speakers, I'm running XLRs, and it's balanced. And so that's good that it has both. It has two mic inputs, which I think is really important, especially like if you're doing weddings nowadays. You know, a lot of people do multiple microphones, and that gives you a chance not to have a separate mixer, that you can run everything from one unit whatsoever. And you've got two completely separate mic channels with full high-low mid controls on them. And that's what this has, including the combo XLR quarter-inch hookups, which those are like essential. Feel free to chime in with anything. I'm just kind of rambling off on that.
Yeah, you know, you're covering basically that. You know, from my perspective, when I saw this, it was really kind of the cross of the 3000 and the 6000 for those of you familiar with that, and it brought down a couple of things that I liked on that I required, two microphones as an example, but yet it had some functionality they've added that's really I think is going to be a big winner for them.
Yeah, I think, like, I own the 6000 Mark I, the first edition, and I love it because it is, to me, it does everything, and it's 4 channels. And there's nights where I've literally sat up with a friend of mine who DJs, and we've run mine in the center with a Windows computer running virtual, and I took the center 2 channels and used the platters here. He hooked up 1200s with Serato platters and a Mac with a Serato box and ran the outer 2 channels. So we kept switching back and forth, and all it was one unit. He was using the outer 2 channels and the fader back and forth the same as I would, and I'm in the center. And that was kind of one of the things that I thought about. It was just so unique that you can just meld so much together. This takes it from the 4 to the 2 channel and cuts you down a little bit. But again, you're cutting down a little bit on weight. You're cutting down on thickness. So, you know, carrying things in. It's a move forward. And that's why I kind of picked this, because it's nothing terribly special. It really isn't. But it is more of a trend of the average controller, average size, average functions. Yeah. So, you know, it is compatible with all 3 softwares, but it does come with Serato DJ in the box. You know, and they go, a lot of controllers now are saying made for Serato or made for this. That doesn't mean you can't use others. That just means that company, Serato, has paid to have their software bundled in with the package. Exactly. You can hook up Tractor to it. You can hook up virtual to it, and now with the new algorithm DJ, you can work that into it if that's your choice. It kind of goes with that, which takes me two last points. Price, I thought it was a good price. It's coming out. It's pre-release. You can pre-order it for $400.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just a decent. Like I said, it all comes with that average. It's very average, but very representative of that whole field, and that's why I kind of picked that. But that takes me to the fact that, you know, if this video is ever heard by anyone in music, you know, Newmark, any of those companies, make us a controller with a motorized platter, please. Make it a little bit bigger. Make it motorized. It doesn't have to be weighted like the NS7, because the NS7 is heavy.
Yeah.
And if you tear it apart, and I actually got to tear one apart, the platters themselves are solid metal, like a cast aluminum.
Oh my!
They're heavy, so there's a lot of weight to that, and it doesn't need to be that. But it would be nice to have a physical thing turning. But that's just, you know, my wish, and that's why it's this and the NV that came out by Newmark. The two of those together, I think, are middle ground controllers.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked it. So
yeah, good stuff.
That's it.
Good stuff. Yeah, that was definitely one. We shot a nice video with that, with the representative from Denon, and we're going to get that up on our YouTube page here, because he went through all the details, and yeah, it's definitely, I think, going to be one that's going to be a player this year in the DJ market.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get a hold of one myself, because I'm at the point now where I need to change, and I'm trying to sell some older equipment that I have, and then take that and put it in new equipment and leave my current equipment then as the backup.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of doing that shuffle thing. And I think that's the one I'm going with. I'm not sure. I think.
Yeah.
It's a good price point. It's solid, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see if how quickly they come out with like a deck saver and stuff like that, which it's important to me. You know, it may take a while, especially since they're not even going to release it till, I think, April.
Yep.
So, you know, unless they pre-release the sizing for the deck saver and stuff in cases and all kinds of stuff like that, that may take a while.
And I doubt if deck saver, who was that now, by the way, deck saver was, I doubt if they would have gotten a chance to get any specs unless they were written, because the unit that they had there was under glass.
The only person that I saw a video that was allowed to touch it was Phil from Digital DJ Tips, and I don't know who he paid off. They took it off, and he started to handle it and turn it around to show the back of it.
Yep.
And they come running over, and I'm like, what? So I don't know why they were so secretive about it. I mean, unless that was a demo unit that just did, you know, a dummy unit that wasn't working.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but yeah, we didn't.
Somebody asked if it takes virtual DJ. I'm seeing that on the chat board. It does. That's the thing with virtual I like about it, is that I tell everybody that it should be called versatile DJ, because you can plug and play in anything. I can walk up to a Serato box with vinyl on Technique 1200s. I can plug in instantly. Nothing else I have to do. Plug in and start working off their vinyl. But it is compatible with Tractor. I know all of it's out there. Like I said, even with Algorithm's new program, expanding and the whole thing they did, you know, when we were talking earlier about CES, Hercules released 2 controllers at the Consumer Electronics Show ahead of time, and they actually won an award with one of them. And that was one of the things they're pushing, is that the Algorithm is a full cross-platform thing. So I think Algorithm is going to start stepping forward and not be this, you know, joke little app that's in the back.
I'll have to. I've actually had some conversations with the guys from Algorithm.
Cool.
And you heard it here first. They're going to be coming out with a video playing version sometime here in early 2015.
See, that was a big thing for me. Thank you for letting me hear that.
No, shh. Don't tell anybody.
I spent at least half the time that I DJ, I'm DJing videos.
Yeah.
So it's that it limits me on different things that I can and can't use, and that's cool.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a product I'm talking about later in our thing that is specifically designed for Algorithm, and that was one of the notes I'm going to make about that product, is that I can't use it because it doesn't do video.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, let's jump to Alights next. Let's go.
Go for it.
I've got a video here. This was from the OmniSystems booth. We are looking at one of their LED fixtures here. And this, I'm going to, let's see, can that show? We're looking at their swinger. This is the swinger, and this is the X2. And why I like this light is you can see that it basically has a simple kind of pan and oscillating back and forth, but you can control the two sides. What I liked about it is it's not anything really super outstanding. I mean, we've seen lights that pan back and forth like that, but I like the individual control over it, and I like that you can mount it on its side. It's small for a mobile DJ, very bright, and I believe it's got quad RGBA or RGB. Yeah, I think it's amber in there. But what I really liked about it is that it can do a variety of different things. It can look good, like at a wedding. You could have it and get the excitement for it, covering a large area. And it's not, price point. It's they haven't released price points and such on it yet, but very bright, but not a ton of money. So that was something I was really, I saw that and I thought, wow, one on each side of your system. You can mount them on speaker stands or speaker poles. It would give you a nice room coverage. You could do different things with it. Slow sweep. You could do faster sweeps, what have you. Changing color. Just really, I think, could be a very flexible light to fit into most DJs' shows.
Well, how big is it? Is it like a foot? Is it smaller? Because from the videos, it's kind of tough to see.
Yeah, it's only about a foot long, maybe 14 inches long.
Okay.
And again, it's not very big. I should have gone up there. The trussing that it was on, I think, was a box truss, and that's probably I've got one right over there. I think they're about 10 inch. It wasn't a huge box truss by any means. So yeah, not a huge light. And again, that's for mobile applications. That was one of my big things. Is I saw some really cool lights. We're going to talk about one, but they start to get so large that they're almost difficult to handle. So
yeah, that's the part of like I said, the stuff that I picked to showcase is the last one that I we're going to kind of like bring out is the changes, and that is one of the units that you brought out right there that is showing the next step in what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because they're getting they're getting into that cob technology with their LEDs. So now your color mixing and the color blending and the beams that are coming out are just so much different than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know what the COBs are, they're chip. It stands for chip on board, and it's a technology that really isn't a diode that's sticking out like we've always seen LEDs, or like if you get a little flashlight that has LEDs. It's not quite like that, but it's a little bit more expensive, but it really opens up what that light can do.
Yeah.
So, and it also doesn't run. Well, it's give or take as hot. I'm hearing both here and there on that. And one of the things with the LED lights is that you have a brightness, warm up, and cool down period. Where it maxes and then kind of planes out a bit. And the COBs don't do that as much as the regular LEDs. Like you will actually, when they measure them in looms, it'll back down off. Where that one doesn't quite as much. It kind of levels and doesn't. The heat period is different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Okay, let's jump to your number 2.
All right, the next one I think is significant. Like I said, the way I'm picking these is I'm picking them because of what I'm seeing in the industry, not necessarily because I think, it's a great unit, but it's the changes. And the past year, Serato has opened itself up to a lot of other things, to where they had before kept it simply that you had to have an SL box, you had to use the single program, you couldn't do video, you couldn't do this, and then they just start opening it up to all these things. And now, with this product, it is the Denon DS1, and basically it's an SL2 box that isn't Serato. So if you don't want to buy the Serato product for some reason, you have an option to buy it, and it comes with Serato, and it comes with 2 plates, and it comes with 2 dub CDs. So you're getting more or less the same thing as the SL2 box, but much cheaper. I think it's running $299, and it's on pre-order. It's not out yet. And you can go ahead and put up the second picture there. I don't know if it's up yet or not, but it's showing the size difference between the two, and that's one of the things that I think is crazy is the size difference. I could not find, because it's not pre-released yet, so there really isn't a lot of tests and numbers on there as to what it's putting out and stuff like that. Specs wise, so I'm not really sure on that. It is plug and play with Serato. It does come with the ground post for the turntables. It's on pre-order. $299 is what they're saying the price. So we're still kind of waiting on that.
Yeah,
it's different. It's the change. Like I said, it's part of that change where I'm seeing Serato open itself up, and to people who didn't want. Maybe like the program but didn't want to have to go through a whole other section of things, or maybe like the program and wanted to use a controller or something, and it's giving them a spot where they can grab Serato, and if they want to use vinyl, they can use vinyl. If they want to use CDJs, they can use CDJs. If they want to use a controller, they can use a controller, and I think that's really cool. Yeah, very much so, very much so. And unfortunately, or however you want to look at it, is as a mobile wedding guy, this is outside of my experience realm, so you catching this was a catch that I would have completely overlooked. It's like I said, it's one of those things that in the club world, it's a pretty much a norm that either you're using some sort of pioneer product, whether it be a CDJ or a controller. Like I said, I use Denon. or you're using the Serato with Serato, whether it be Serato through CDJs or Serato through vinyl, and it was always just that one thing. There was no other option, period. Or a rain mixer with a Serato SL1 built into the rain mixer, and they're several $1,000s for those. And this just gives another option.
Yeah.
Like I said, at this point, I don't know what kind of quality it is. It could be a cheap version that maybe doesn't last as long or whatever. But time will tell. It's nice to see that is advancing.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I'm seeing with this, is that Serato is opening itself up and being such a solid and stable, ecosystem that it is. Will that stability stay with it as it expands? I hope.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked that one. I thought it was neat.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, let's see if I can jump to my... Which one am I going to... There we go. I'm going to jump to my ADJ lights. They introduced some, I would call them more of a classic type set of lights. They called it the StarTech series. And right now we're looking at the... I want to get this. So this is the... we've got the Starburst right there, which was very much like the Starball. The Starburst is running a hex technology. Now get a load of this, gang. We've got our RGB, WA, and UV on this one. Okay, and that's kind of cool. Now we have another one. Where's the hex? Where is that? There's another hex one. I want to, and I'm bouncing here between the pages, so I can make it. And it's the mini Decker.
Ah, yes.
The mini Decker. I want to get back to that one. The mini Decker. Okay, this one is coming in red, green, blue, and white. So this is only a quad, but there's one that has a hex, but it has pink. I think the pink is in the Stinger here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that. Yes, red, green, blue, white. It's RGB, W, Y, and P.
Wow.
Which is interesting. These are all in their new StarTech line, and what's really kind of cool about this is they're bringing back some very popular, such as the Stinger. It's got the strobe capability, it's got the moonflower capability, and a color changing and doing a lot of different things with it, and it's got a laser in the middle. So there's a lot of functionality. And yes, for those of you out there saying, "Oh, that looks like some lights I've seen before," yes, this happens in the industry. That companies will be making very similar lights back and forth, generally with their own little twist on it. The coolest thing about these lights, and when I think the top two, the Mini Decker. When I had a version of the Mini Decker, I think most of us had a variation of either the Mini Decker or the Vertigo. They were called different things back then. But the thing I always struggled with is that control. I'm not one that just likes to have the light go on and then just go da-da-da-da-da. I would have liked to have controlled the colors and maybe controlled the on and off for surely and getting them linked up. Well, all of these fixtures are coming in at an incredibly low price. I mean, I want to say that the price on like the Mini Decker is under $150.
Wow.
And they have DMX capability. So a person can link them together and do your master slave, or you can go with DMX and actually control them to a level. For DJs who are just starting out, or someone who wants to have, I looked at the Mini Decker, what they were doing with it, and I envisioned that taking like 4 of those and literally putting those behind you as uplights and having those doing their things on the wall, I think would be just a really cool effect.
Yeah. Do you know if any of those come with the remotes? Like I've seen a lot of the ADJ products and different ones are coming with the remotes. Do you know if that one
I'm not sure if they're remote control, and I don't remember that part, if they were or not. Yeah, because they were talking about the DMX control.
Right.
Yeah, I don't believe that they can handle the remote control, but again, the idea to be able to link them and control them and run them off, only a couple of your channels on your DMX board, is huge, and that's something that I think a lot of DJs are really going to look at. And of course, when you get into that Stinger and having the capability to do the laser and the strobe, and one of the cool things about the strobe, those little circles that we see on the screen right now, those are the strobes. Well, those don't always have to be strobes. They can be used as a blinder light also, where you can bring them up and use those as kind of a fill light. So if you're going to be doing like a first dance or something like that, but you want to bring the light up a little bit so grandma and grandpa can see a little easier, you can do that with that fixture. Whereas some of the fixtures you just can't. If it's strictly, like the Mini Decker, we like that look, but you can't use that as a static light on the floor to illuminate the bride and groom. So
right.
cool stuff. And
I'm seeing someone in, like I said, I'm trying to pay attention to the chat and stuff, and that was one of the things that you and I were talking about, that there's a lot of the knockoffs coming out of China right now, and it's like anything else. It's, not necessarily tried and true. And if something happens, do you have a person to go back to? But with these companies, again, you might be paying more, but I think, you get a product that you can grab a hold of, and if something happens, you have a person to get it connected with. And I like a lot of what they're doing right now. So I agree with you on those. Good calls.
Yeah.
Especially the Star one. That's an old school bring back. When I saw that, I'm like, is this new, or is this,
It is.
a misprint?
Yeah, that was the, ADJ over the years has had the Star Ball, which was it was based, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was the same bulb that was in a Vertigo. And it would just had lots of little pinholes in it. And actually, my wife ran that for years in her show as her mirror ball, because she didn't want to go up there and have to hang a mirror ball overhead. She didn't care for that, so she ran that. It was I don't know how she made the ball. I bought one, she had one. The bulb lasted only probably 6 months, and hers lasted for years. I don't know what she did differently than I did, but she loved it. Then of course they went to the more of a Star Ball, and then now we've got the Star Burst, which is using LED technology. The Star Ball, if I remember correctly, that had the 300-watt bulbs in it, and it got so hot.
Yes, but that was the other thing I love about the LEDs now, is the wattage that you're pulling, and the heat is, you don't have to worry like you used to.
Yeah, exactly. It's good stuff.
So it's good and lighter too. I mean, if anybody, like you said, you were talking about, using those old school, to age myself, I DJ'd at roller rinks back in the day that had the old ones. So I like seeing the changes. A lot of people my age don't like the changes, and they don't, they talk controller crap, and they talk lighting and this and that. Life's going to change. It just happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Think about 7 years ago was when they released the first iPhone, and what would life be like without that?
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah, where would we be without that?
I just found out that it was Sunday was the 10th anniversary of Google Maps. So think about that in our lifetime, and how that much has changed our lives, and it's just going to continue to change.
Yeah.
So go along with it. It's cool stuff. I love seeing it. I think it's a lot of great products are coming out. And little overload.
Let's jump to the next one. We've got a Casio.
Okay, this one, like I said, I'm picking these ones because I'm seeing changes in the industry, and one of the reasons why I picked the Casio, and I'll explain the whole thing here, is that Vestex just recently went bankrupt, but there is still being products put out by Casio that say powered by Vestex on them. So will they get absorbed into Casio and then become part of that? Will they continue the same old products that they had? I don't know. But this unit, the reason I picked this, it is the Casio XW DJ1. And it is a little tiny Millennium Falcon looking device, is the best I can say. And the reason I picked this is not because of it being, and even though you can take it out and use it places, it does work with Tractor Pro 2. It works with Algorithm. I've not found anything out yet whether it works with anything like virtual or anything like that. I was trying to find out if it works with Android, because it's saying a lot of iOS, because it even has, out of the back of it, it has a MIDI to Lightning connector that it comes with. So all you can connect it to, I can't find it, like I said, because it's still not out yet. Well, it is out, but there isn't. I haven't got to find that much out. But what I liked about it, now here's the strange thing. Recently, there was a product put out called the Jamstick. Yeah. Jamstick Smart Guitar. And it's a unit about that big that what it does, it hooks through your iPhone, and it has strings on it, and lets you play guitar practice. Yes. And practice like crazy, You can take that on the bus as you're going to work, having headphones, whatever. But DJs, we don't have something like that. I know a lot of DJs like myself, we have a broken fader that sits around. This is in my studio all the time, and I'm just practicing away, all day long, and you got to get that. So this is a unit that I think can be used as a practice unit because it is battery operated, internal speaker, and can work off your phone. So that means you literally could be riding the bus to work, practicing your scratching, and it is reversible, so you can go both sides. That's what I think's about it. I don't think I'll ever see it used out anywhere. I'm not even sure if it was designed to be used out anywhere. Right. One of the things that I heard somebody talk about was that, somebody who's a performance artist can maybe use it as a side unit. Yeah, possibly. I don't know if anybody will, but the fact that in the joke about this, the fact that I could be sitting on my couch watching the Grammys and scratching along with somebody performing, to me is like, again, looking back to the old lights and old technology, having something I can throw in a small backpack and practice while I'm out is just unheard of. That's where I see a lot of the changes coming to, is that I always say that the first time that Apple puts out an iPad with expandable memory, the DJ world's going to change. You won't see guys buying laptops. You're going to be seeing, simple little, iPads or something like the Surface Pro type things. Yeah. And that's what you're going to seeing a lot of those out. That's why I kind of picked it. You can get it through somebody I saw had it for $250 online. I can't remember where. But that was the other thing, that if it's compatible and you get one of these what's called OTG adapters on the go, and it's for the Android one side and USB on the other, could that be hooked to an Android? That's what I'm waiting to find out. How cross-platform it is. Algorithm is on Android now, but will this speak to it? Because it does have, like I said, it has the MIDI to Lightning connector, and it also has the USB Type B, which is the square USB on the unit. So, can you link all that? I don't know. But like I said, I see it as changes, as smalling in technology, how small that can be and what can be done. That when we talked earlier about making the controller with the motorized platters, you could still do that and not have something thick and heavy. Yeah. It's something that, like I said, down the road, may take us 5 years to see it. But, imagine, for those of you, like I said, 7 years ago was the iPhone, what would our lives be without that right now? I mean, I run my business from it. So that's why I say this is something, like I said, I like it because it's change. It's something that is going to spark some interest, spark some people, not as a play-out unit, but just like I said, just to be sit and practice. I would like to get a hold of one, but $250, I don't know if I would as a play unit, as a toy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or a practice unit, yeah. And
yeah, it's overpriced, I think, for that, but it could be.
Yeah, and for the wedding guys out there who are watching and or listening to this and thinking, why in the world, how would that ever appeal or fit with what you do? And I would actually, this is probably something 5 years ago I would have said the same thing. But as I have over the last few years, really have changed the way I play at weddings, and I'm wanting to hit and segue songs at exact moments. And many of us play the Brown Eyed Girls Cecilia back to back in one way, shape, or form, one or the other, because they fit so well together. And to be able to hit those at the exact right time, you probably didn't do that the first time or the second time or the fifth time, but over time you've developed because you've practiced it. The exact same thing here. I can actually see myself, and I have done this now in the last couple of years, I've actually set up and I practiced where I've come up to a song. The song Habits, as an example, recently, last week, I spent about 20 minutes working to where I wanted to hit Habits, because I wanted to hit a refrain, second verse, and refrain, and out of it. But I wanted to hit it right on. And
quick mix, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do a quick mix because that first verse, it was just a little too skanky for what I wanted to do. The second verse is okay enough, and then I'm out of it, basically.
Right.
So, for wedding guys, it may not be there today, and maybe you'll never. It isn't your style, but I can see that as the evolution of playback continues to grow, and as more and more DJs start to embrace how they can do these quick mixes, that makes us different than the iPod or iPad, the push play DJ. So
yeah, like I said, for me sitting here in my office, like I said, this is always setting here, and to have something where I can actually not just have click click, where I can have sound, that's big. Price point's a little high, but we'll see.
We'll see where it goes.
We'll see.
Okay, let's jump to the next one here.
Yep.
This one, we're going to go to the Mackie room. Now, Mackie at NAMM had a big, beautiful room showing off all their speaker lines. And this is going to be a little tough to see. I'm going to try to see if I can zoom in a little bit on this. But this is the Mackie Free Play that we're looking at here. We're looking at a variety of pictures of it. What this is a little battery-powered sound system. And I've actually printed off the specs on this guy. But this little guy it has a 10-hour battery in it. It's a 300-watt amplifier in this. It has different inputs for microphones, guitars. It has Bluetooth technology, so you can stream from your phone, add the microphones or a guitar. So you could be, and one of the things they talked about that is that if you're a street performer, there's I'll go down here so you can see that. There's a little kickstand. Oops, I went right there in the lower right-hand corner there. You can see there's a little kickstand for it, and you can see in the next to it there where that's another a kickstand / speaker pole mount is the center picture we're looking at right now. But the idea behind this is that for a street performer, 10 hours, that's probably going to cover your shift. If you're doing a ceremony, you could get 2 of these and have one, and you'd have to piggyback, unfortunately, because you can't broadcast Bluetooth to 2 different locations. But the possibility of doing sound for 10 hours, 6 hours, way over the time you need for that, and at 300 watts, that's going to give you enough room to do dinner music in the backyard party for sure.
Yeah, exactly what you said. For some of the weddings that maybe have a small outdoor reception area where you would want to tie that in with everything else, that's completely wireless right there.
Yeah, a great little.
I almost picked a wireless setup for one of my things because there's a company that has one out now. There's several out, but they come out with new, and it's a WePro that will allow you to attach up to 50 wireless speakers, like adapters for the speaker, the receivers. So that's the next step. As the lights go wireless, the speakers go on wireless quick.
I think so. I think that was one of the things. Talking to a couple of the speaker manufacturers at NAMM, some have the technology, such as JBL. They just introduced with their new the new S series. I don't remember what the STX. Anyway, the newest and high-end JBL have got the ability to go and set all the parameters with your iPad app. So I can go through and I can set the EQ. I can set the compression and level. I mean, basically what they've done is they put a whole live soundboard in the back of it, and I can control that with my iPad. That's the way some manufacturers have gone. Now others have looked at it and said, we really think that the end user, i.e. in our case DJs, would rather have the ability to stream music instead of control. They they can set their controls, but DJs aren't going to, I want to change it this much for this room, and I want to go and maybe now. Most DJs are basically, is it good? Okay, great, plug and play, let's go. So
yeah, 70. They're not going to do a 70 hertz plus 2.
No, exactly. That's not. That's not even on the
Half
radar.
of them are so deaf they're not going to hear.
Yeah. So there is that. And that's unfortunately. Now we're back to the earplugs again.
Back to the earplug. I'm a firm believer in protecting your ears. So
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that. Like I said, that they're, it's not, that may not be something for every DJ. Like I said, when it comes to us reviewing stuff, that's the weirdest thing when I talk to people, that you have worlds that are so split because you have the club era group of guys that are doing one thing and completely don't know what some of the wedding guys are doing and using and stuff like that, and the wedding guys are doing stuff and don't have any idea what the club guys are doing.
Exactly.
And we're trying to communicate to both of them that, why would I use a wireless speaker, or why would I use this? And somebody else would be like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, for sure.
It depends on where you're at and what you're doing.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's good.
Good stuff.
Good.
Let's see. We'll jump to one of yours, and oh my gosh, it's a controller.
Oh my, another controller. And again, I didn't pick this because it's a controller, but it represents something that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And it is the Pioneer XDJ RX. And the reason I'm doing this is for me, this isn't necessarily new technology, but it's advanced to what I used. But prior to 2010, Denon, the DNS 1200s, would work off of thumb drives. And I DJ'd from them for years with 2 DNS 1200s and a mixer, and it brought up the things on the screen, and you can plug a normal computer keyboard into the back of them and link them with a crossover cable, and you could type in the name, a BPM, a folder, a style, and it would bring them up, and you could scroll through and load all from a thumb drive. Well, again, like I said, the first day that Apple puts out an expandable iPad, we got stuff like this, the XDJ RX, can run completely off thumb drives. So not only can it run and just give you a little screen, the center screen is the exact same as the CDJ 2000. So you're getting waveforms, not just waveforms, but adjustable waveforms, so where you can zoom in and zoom out on the fly. You can search with it, and there's a little, like if you ever own an Xbox and you have to, tap through typing in something you're searching for, and it's all those. It has a thing like that, but it's really fast. So you hit the what you're searching for, and you twist, and you go to that letter, and 2 or 3 clicks later, because let's say you're looking for Michael Jackson, you're going to MIC, bang, you've got a whole list of his up. In the same way, BPMs, you can do whatever, and you can preset it to search for a BPM plus or minus whatever. So you could say, I only want songs plus or minus 4 of this BPM. So that was one of the things with this, and it can run with a computer. It can be a full controller, but the fact that they're trying to make it run completely off of itself, and there's a couple other companies that are doing that now too, where they're developing to where they're going to skip the middleman. They're coming out with their own programs, and that was one of the things with the Pioneer. And they have that their program Record Box, which really isn't a program, but more of a music management system that at least with the Denon side of it, I didn't get into the record box world, but the Denon side, it created like a text file of all the information about every single song that's in there with the management software that Denon has. And then so that when you're doing that search, it's instant on there, and it tells cue points, it tells BPMs, keys, everything. And that's one of the things with this. You can search, browse by, stuff you've tagged it, names, what key it's in, name, style, year.
Yeah.
It all is searchable. And with the NV, when they come out with the NV that had the screens, they said, oh, you can leave your laptop off to the side and just DJ with this. But someone like me is getting requests all night, and I'm switching and changing music and changing styles. I need to be able to search through. And that was one thing that I looked at this. I said, am I going to be able to search? And it's just a really quick knob on there that just hits it in and out. You can hook up an external monitor to it. So if you don't like that little tiny screen in the center, you can hook up an external monitor to it.
Oh, very nice.
Still run internally to where you're running off the thumb drive and have a bigger screen. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of neat. I didn't expect to see about that. It has 2 USB slots on it, right and left side. This is tricky. You ready?
Okay.
This one only plays. Okay, so you put your songs on it, only plays.
Okay.
This one can play or record. So you literally can have 2 of them playing off one thumb drive and recording your set on the other and dropping in track markers too. So it comes back out, where the track markers are, live on the fly. And if you make any changes, like say you put a new cue point that wasn't there before or added a note, it then takes it and puts it back in your record box management software once you're done. So as you're doing stuff live, it then puts it into your system also. So I thought that was kind of cool that they were thinking further down the road. Yeah. With, like I said, for guys who are switching and moving and pounding stuff out, that's important. And that was one of the things with the CDJ 2000s that had that. You have DJs now that are traveling the country, and all they take is the thumb drive. And they're walking into a club that has the CDJs, pop that in there, DJ their night, pull it out, walk away.
Yeah, and I think that's a part that a lot of, especially the wedding guys, are out there like, all these controllers, they won't work for me because of, younger DJs, and I know quite a few of them. These are the guys who want to make their own music and they want to get into it. And they have their tracks. They have their 40 tracks. That's all they carry. Yeah. And that's going to become the norm for some type of performers. Not for what Michael and I are doing many times, because we do this thing called take requests. But if I wouldn't do that,
when a song comes out, I'm usually downloading 3 copies of it. I'll download the radio edit. I'll download something that is a slightly advanced remix, like a redrum, and then some sort of EDM BPM-esque version of it. So, and then every week we're doing that. We're constantly adding new ones. So if I'm at a place one night and when they want a redrum, or another place where, I can drop the EDM here, or this would go with this, I have that option. And having, with the computer, you're able to search all of them crazily fast. But with that, it slows you down a little. With the wedding guys, think about that. You come in with 2 thumb drives. Your standard thumb drive, and then what that person wants on the other. And you're running off of that the whole night.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It has, just for people who kind of are sizing it up, it has smaller platters than the DDJ, the smaller platters than the 2000. They're about the size of the DDJ SX. So they're not huge like the 2000, because a lot of people like that sizing. And if you're used to turntables, scrunching down is impossible. It really takes some training. If you haven't spent time on small, it's going to be tough. So this is slightly smaller. It can't do videos yet, but like you said, algorithm is changing to where, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about them. There has been rumors that algorithm is going to be able to process videos. Yeah, but the same as this, in two years, a year, maybe they add videos to it, and you have an HDMI out port that runs videos. I don't know. Yeah. It's still not out yet. Pre-orders, it's $1,500 for this one. But like I said, as it's changing and giving you a high-end by Pioneer, not some secondary company, high-end Pioneer unit that runs efficiently. And one of the things they talked about was the workflow of the unit and how easily it is similar to the other Pioneer stuff. So if you've used Pioneer stuff before, it's not going to be a jump. It's not going to be a learning curve. To have a company put out something like that is high and well known as Pioneer, that kind of makes me go, there's going to be more of this.
Yeah, and as Mike pointed out, losing your thumb drive is a bad thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm a firm believer of backup. And if you follow me on Twitter, I just put that the other day. back it up, back it up, back it up. And I just backed up the whole computer, and also it went live on the cloud so that if I go somewhere, let's say I'm traveling, which I do a lot of that DJing, outside the state, and I lose something, I'm at least able to go online, get something to get me through the night. So it's not always, got to have the exact thing, but if something crashes, you can get through the night with it. So back up, have multiples. Here, perfect example. Again, on a necklace, 32 gigs on a necklace, and they make 64 gigs. You can have that with you wherever you go, and you're good to go. I know, sure. I ramble a lot.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm a gadget guy. Go for it.
That's quite all right. Let's see. Let's jump to the next one. Actually, I'm looking for the picture. I can't find one of the pictures here of the Newmark speaker. We'll have to get back to that. We'll get back to that one. I want to show. So we're running out of time here.
Sorry, don't mean to drink on camera there.
That's quite all right.
Talk a lot.
This is when we talk a lot. We end.
Are we going to jump to the Newmark speaker?
No,
I can talk about it.
I can't find the picture right. So we're going to go. We're going to do the Chauvet DJ, the Intimidator Wave. This is actually.
I want to say that I'm glad you picked this one because I was going to pick it. And the thing that when they come out with the original Wave, everybody said what it needed. It has it, so go for it. Are you going to run a video for it?
Video's running right now. Go ahead. You want to talk about what caught your eye, and I'm going to try to see if I can find the...
Well, at the fall, when I did in the fall at the DJ Expo in Atlantic City, that was the first thing I saw that, and they had it up running, and I posted a short video out, and I got so much response to people liking it. And then they asked, well, does it turn? No, it doesn't turn. Then everybody was like, I don't like it so much. Now it turns. The 360 IRC is exactly that. It's the same thing. You've got these things that are DMX controllable in the wave, color, all of that, and the whole thing spins 362. So you have wave actions and spin actions, and I think that to this unit and what it can do, you blind some people with that, So,
oh yeah.
But that was the first thing everybody said. Does it spin? Well, now it spins. So
yeah, and that continuous spin is so cool. And you wouldn't think, that is such a neat thing, but boy, when you see a light that can do that continuous spin, and then you see the kind that only can go, a turn and a half or so, it definitely is a big difference.
Yeah, I that's going to take you into like the old school gobos that spun, but this is, a whole different thing, and if they're doing that with these lights, what's the next one going to come out? It's going to come out with lasers attached to it or something.
Sharks on the bottom, lasers on top.
Sharks with freaking lasers.
It'll be awesome.
But that's the advances, and that was one of the things that I saw that it's becoming such a huge changing thing that 10 years ago you said you had something like that could get it for the price that you could get it for, took the wattage that you could take it for. I'm amazed. Yeah. Very, very cool.
Okay, I've got that. I wonder if I can pop that up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part of the fun of doing live TV or live video.
Shows that we are truly live.
We are truly live, so that's right. We're answering some questions, and we are doing it. I'm trying to open up one more picture here.
If anybody has any questions and you're on the chat area, drop them in. I'll try to answer them if I can. I'm looking at it. I know there's a delay, so you're a few seconds behind. But
let's see if I can bring this one.
Or feel free to contact John or I afterwards. I have people from Monday night's thing when I did the video about mixing that contacted me and asked me questions. I'm always cool to talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be in this business. I'm blessed to get to do what I do for a living. I used to work a day job that was hideous, and then got a few hours of DJing a week. It's what I do full time now, so I really love that. So I will talk about it for sure.
There we go. We have it up. We've got the Lightwave from Newmark.
Not sure what to say about this. I only picked it again. Why I picked it is because of changes in the industry.
Yep.
Would I ever use one? I don't know a gig. I really don't know a gig that I do where I could use it and not slap myself. Is it hideous? No, it's not hideous. Nope. It's just the fact that you're seeing a lot of combo units coming out, and the fact that you can have a speaker and have a light show in the speaker possibly could be cool to somebody, but it just shows the advances in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's the best way I can explain it, is that they're not terribly large. The wattage isn't through the roof on them. They're pretty basic speakers, but they have lights. So
yeah.
Maybe if you're doing small parties with your friends, that's, I think that's what that's going for, is that someone who does house parties, you walk in with 2 speakers, and that's your speakers and your lights for the night.
Oh, exactly. And they can easily be bright enough to do a house party very, very well. And and they are reactive. I mean, you can set them to do different things, but back in the old days when we first had our big stereos and we got that graphic EQ that bounced on our big Sony or Fisher stereo way back in the day, that was cool. So I can see that appeal. It's just when I looked at it, there's 2 things. My thoughts were I expected it to be an Ion because Newmark and Ion are under the same parent company.
That's right. Yeah.
And I expected it to be an Ion piece because they do a lot of lights. You can see some of their different fixtures and audio units at some of the big box stores. So it's better quality than that, so that's obviously nice. But I looked at it and it's like, my kids would love that for their pool room, which is just over on the other side of this building. They've got a pool table and a foosball table, and boy, would they have fun with that in there, and it just kind of add that kind of cool.
Yeah. So, I expect to see more stuff like that. There was a friend of mine, he's actually on the chat tonight, Mike, that I sent him another one. There's another company that put a controller that's built into a speaker, and it kind of looks like a stack, or when you would do racking, but it was a racking with the controller company put out. They combo it, and the speakers were LED lit also, but they were just lit in the center only. Will we see a lot of this? I hope not.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We started to see some LED lights on speakers from a lot of the Chinese companies at NAMM 2 years ago. And I say a lot. They started 2 years ago. You probably saw 4 or 5. This year, I bet there's probably 10 different. Newmark is the first, we'll call it mainstream company that it really brought LED lights beyond the little.
For a company that big to drop this, that's different.
Yeah. So otherwise, you've seen some of the at NAMM this year. What was really big was the plastic cabinets, kind of the rounded, molded plastic cabinets that were kind of ovalish shaped, and many of them it looked like they had taken like LED strip lights and just kind of put them in the seams of it. So in some cases, the cabinet had kind of a figure 8 shape. There were LEDs. Some of them had the LEDs where they circled the subwoofer, or the woofer, I should say.
Okay.
Again, it's flashing and it's light, but it makes it. In some of those, it makes such little sense as the one where it has the 200-watt speaker and it has a little 7-inch flip monitor. Let's see, the flip monitor, and it faced forward. So the speaker's firing at me, and there's a little 7-inch monitor. Video monitor facing forward to it.
They got a deal on it. They got a deal on bulk buying on them, and that's why they put that in there. Like, we can buy a bunch of this, we'll throw them in.
So I went up to it, and I'm thinking, this might be used as a monitor for karaoke. Well, no, not really, because the monitor flips up to a 90-degree angle. That's it. It's like so it doesn't go back any farther. So I've got to have it up here to see it. So I thought, maybe it's going to spin, so you could maybe use it. Nope. That's
so random, I guess is the best word I could say. My first thought was, I was telling some other people when I saw this, was the first thing that came to my mind is that's just something else in the speaker that can come loose and start rattling at a point down the road.
Yeah, very possible. Very possible. Okay, we've got let's see, what do we have? We've got, I think, 2 things, and we're going to go, let's jump back to our...
those speakers are pre-order $250 each, so...
Okay.
I want to say that.
Yeah, they're not huge money by any means. Now, the next one is actually a video we just, I think, went live today, and this is one I wanted to show. This is the Denon Axis system, or the speakers. They've got an Axis 8, which is an 8-inch 2A, which is what you're going to see at the top of this video. Right there, that's the Axis 8. The Axis 12 is a little bit bigger, but they've got an Axis 12, and then they have an Axis 12 sub. And this particular video is out on our YouTube channel that I'm showing you right now. And this is the actual audio version. I have one where we talked about the specs of it, but this is a 2,000 watt. All the cabinets have a 2,000 watt Class D amplifier. They're 2-way speakers in the tops. Your 12-inch sub. Surprising the sound quality out of this one. The 2 things that
Denon is known in their home audio as being extremely high-end stuff.
Yeah.
So when they brought these over, I was just hoping, because I didn't get to hear them or anything, but I was hoping they brought some of that high-end quality and didn't cheapen it. So.
Yeah, I think so. And we see that Denon had announced almost a full speaker line this year, but the others were, I would call them, more traditional speakers. This was, the closest comparison is the Mackie. Mackie that came out with their version 2 years ago. So this was kind of cool. There's some capability. These were prototypes that we heard. So if you watch the other video on YouTube that I put up, that one talked a little bit about some of the different inputs and things. But I think that for a DJ who's looking for a clean look, a nice compact look, And what's really kind of cool about it is that it has a wider dispersion, I felt, than a typical horn-loaded speaker.
I did read that. Yeah, it's really wide. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I think this could definitely be something that will get a lot of attention. So we're going to jump to.
Did you get to feel how heavy it was or anything?
They weren't that heavy. I don't have the specs on it, but I don't think they were over 50 pounds for the sub.
Okay.
Wow. They weren't. But that was, again, prototype stuff. The guy from Denon's like, there's a little USB port on the back. Yeah, that's not going to be on the final version, but that's how we can tune it and set it up.
Demo it, yeah. Wow.
We're going to make one last quick, and then it's on to tonight's show. The last item was from MXL Microphones. And this is for people who are doing some different things, like kind of what we do when we're on the road. You notice on a lot of our videos from NAMM this year, we actually were using handheld microphones. They're not the most expensive mics, but you might be using those. In the past, we've used things like this the little Rode mic, and they've got the 1/8 inch. A lot of these mics do that are being used. This little box you're seeing on the screen is a 4 1/8 inch microphone mixer, basically. So it's got 4 1/8 inch jacks. You can see in the front it's got the 4 knobs. It can go out to a computer, it has USB out to a computer, and it has an 1/8 inch out to go into your camcorder. So once this is available, and I think there's 2 or 3 companies, but 2 for sure that have a variation of this. Once one of these are available, what that's going to do for us is that we're going to be able to take that, slap a piece of Velcro on it, and Velcro it to the side of the tripod. We can run 2 microphones into it, and then from that into the camcorder. Now I can have 2 people, and they can each hold their own microphone, so we're going to be able to get a better quality audio.
Well, I can see that in being used in the karaoke world. Multiple mics, easy. Easy setup for that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And even in getting into the wedding ceremony time, there's times where a person could be able to have a couple of microphones and be able to have that set somewhere, and to be able to record. If you have a microphone that's set up over behind the bride that's hidden, and one by the groom, and you're bringing it in, and you're bringing it to a box, or even in some of our videos when we're shooting live in Las Vegas, there are times where we use a camcorder. One is getting the picture, the other one is I'm using another one I've got it hidden, and that's just to record the audio on the microphone. Well, something like that could easily
solves it. Yeah,
could easily fit into that equation, give you microphone capability, and do things like that. So,
is that out right now, or
that will be coming out? I think they said that's going to be in May.
Okay,
is when that one. So that means sometime between now and August.
Yeah,
that's kind of how these go here. So
yeah,
I think we made it, Michael. We went through our list.
Got through it. Yeah. I know it was controller heavy, but
yeah, that's quite all right. We had a lot of stuff. Actually, it was very Denon heavy, which is actually surprising because a lot of you followed the industry. That Denon was purchased by InMusic, and not knowing the last couple of years how much Denon was going to be coming to the industry or coming out with, it was really surprising for me to see how the new products and how many they had and the quality of what they were bringing out.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a few of the companies have spread out. I mean, you look at Pioneer and how many, studio monitors they put out and headphones and everything, and the same with Newmark, spread itself out. It's not necessary. I don't think we're going to have that specialty companies anymore.
Yeah, some good stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for watching tonight. If you are watching on the YouTube page, thank you, and thanks for being in the chat with us. Pop over to DJN Virtual Expo. Click on the, you might have to click the refresh, holding the shift down refresh to get the video player up. Tonight's show is Ben Stowe and I from NAMM. We're going around and looking at the best of what we found as some of the best things of NAMM, which I think we might have slightly touched on one thing that we talked about here.
Okay.
But I don't even think it was just more of a reference thing. I don't even think and headphones. Headphones is one thing we did cover with Ben Stowe, because we talked about one of the cool new headphones out there that you guys I think you kind of like. So again, thank you for watching. If you have any other questions or comments, this video, all the comments that are here unfortunately get deleted, so you might have to come back and ask them later.
Feel free to drop me an email or anything. You have any questions about any of the stuff I had, or,
And Michael, of course, is the host of our Sunday night, The Rewind Report. You can go and check that out on djntv.com. And again, comment there or comment on the page. We have a Facebook page for The Rewind Report. Ask questions, drop thoughts. Michael sure appreciates any kind of feedback on that, as we all do with all the videos. So, Michael, once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It was good. I always love talking tech.
Oh, that's great stuff. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and thanks for watching the show tonight. Good night. Hang on a sec, because it's